They say you can tell a lot about a man by how he treats his equals. But you find out the truth by how he treats those who can do absolutely nothing for him. In the high-pressure world of fine dining, there is an invisible line between the people who eat the food and the people who scrub the plates. Today, we're telling the story of Marcus, a man who thought he was invisible, and Elias, a man who saw everything. This is a story about dignity, judgment, and a dinner invitation that changed everything. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button and like this video if you believe that hard work should always be rewarded. The steam in the dish pit of l'Obsidienne didn't just make you sweat, it coated your lungs. It smelled of stale soapy water, half-eaten filet mignon, and the sharp, metallic tang of bleach. For Marcus, this 6x6 tiled box was his entire world from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., 6 days a week. Marcus was 32, with broad shoulders that ached perpetually and hands that had been wrinkled by water so long his fingerprints were fading. He was a black man in a kitchen dominated by a harsh, silent hierarchy. At l'Obsidienne, one of New York City's most exclusive five-star establishments, the Brigade de Cuisine system was law. Executive chefs were gods, sous chefs were generals, and dishwashers, plongeurs, were the dirt beneath their boots. Faster, Marcus. We are running out of entree plates. Do you want to bankrupt me? The voice belonged to Julian, the floor manager. Julian was a man who wore suits that cost more than Marcus made in 3 months. He had a smile for the customers that was as bright as a diamond, and a scowl for the staff that was as sharp as a paring knife. "I'm on it, Julian," Marcus said, his voice calm despite the chaos. He didn't look up. He couldn't afford the seconds it would take. He scrubbed a porcelain plate worth $80, rinsed it in scalding water, and racked it. Facts about the restaurant industry are often brutal. The turnover rate in the hospitality sector hovers around 75% annually. In the dish pit, it's even higher. Most guys quit after 2 weeks. Marcus had been here for 2 years. He wasn't just washing dishes, he was studying. While he scrubbed, he listened. He listened to the head chef explain the emulsification of sauces. He watched how the line cooks seared scallops to create the perfect Maillard reaction, the chemical browning of proteins that equals flavor. Marcus had a degree in business administration from a community college, a degree he finished at night while working construction, before an injury pushed him into the kitchen. He wasn't just cleaning, he was analyzing the logistics of the line. Tonight, the restaurant was packed. A VIP was rumored to be coming in, though no one knew who. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a steak knife. Around 8:30 p.m., a disaster occurred. A waiter, rushing a tray of dirty dishes back to the pit, slipped on a stray ice cube. The crash was deafening. Crystal wine glasses shattered, half-eaten lobster bisque splattered across the floor, and expensive silverware scattered everywhere. Julian stormed in, his face turning a violent shade of red. "You idiot," he screamed at the terrified waiter. "Clean this up. If the VIP sees this." "Go," Marcus said, stepping out of his pit. He grabbed a mop and a bucket. "I got this. Get back to table 4. You stay in your hole, Marcus." Julian spat. "He's shaking, Julian," Marcus said firmly, pointing to the waiter. "He's going to drop the next tray. I'll clean the floor. Just let him run the water." Julian sneered but realized Marcus was right. "Fine. But if I see one spot on this floor, you're fired." As Marcus knelt to pick up the shards of glass by hand, he didn't notice the man sitting at the chef's table, a special seat reserved for high rollers that looked directly into the kitchen. The man was older, dressed in a suit that looked well-worn, not flashy. He was sipping tap water and reading a newspaper, ignoring the $200 steak in front of him. The man watched Marcus carefully. He saw Marcus pick up a silver fork that had fallen near a drain. Instead of tossing it in the sink, Marcus inspected it, saw a tiny bend in the tine, and set it aside in a repair bin. The old man smiled. A micro-expression that vanished as quickly as it appeared. It was midnight. The rush had died down. Marcus stepped out into the back alley for his 15-minute break. He sat on a milk crate, lighting a cheap cigarette, staring at the brick wall opposite him. His apron was soaked, his shoes squishing with every step. "Rough night?" Marcus looked up. It was the old man from the chef's table. Up close, he looked tired. His gray hair was thinning, and his eyes were a piercing blue. "Just a Tuesday," Marcus said, exhaling smoke. "You enjoy your meal, sir?" The steak was oversalted. The wine was excellent. The atmosphere was tense, the man said, leaning against the dumpster. It was a strange place for a customer to be. "Sorry to hear about the steak," Marcus said. "Chef is trying a new dry rub. I think the kosher salt grain is too coarse for the finish, so it doesn't dissolve right. Hits the tongue too hard." The old man raised an eyebrow. "You know a lot about salt for a dishwasher." Marcus shrugged. "I pay attention. You wash 10,000 plates, you see what comes back eaten and what comes back untouched. The steak plates? They've been coming back with meat left on them all week. That means the flavor profile is off." The old man was silent for a long moment. I'm Elias. Marcus. Marcus, Elias said, checking his watch. I have a reservation for a late supper at a place down the street. The Onyx Room. Do you know it? Marcus laughed dryly. The Onyx Room? That's the only place in the city more expensive than here. I know it. I can't afford to look at the menu. I hate eating alone, Elias said. Join me. Marcus looked at his dirty apron, his wet shoes. Sir, I appreciate the joke, but I've got 2 hours of scrubbing left, and I look like the help. I own the reservation, Elias said firmly. And I'm not joking. Go wash your face. Change your shirt. I'll clear it with your manager. Julian will fire me if I walk off the line. Let me worry about Julian. There was something in Elias's voice, a command, an authority that didn't match his frayed collar. Marcus felt a pull of curiosity. Why not? If he got fired, he got fired. He was tired of the abuse anyway. All right, Marcus said. Give me 10 minutes. When Marcus walked out of the locker room, he was wearing his street clothes, clean dark jeans, a black t-shirt, and a bomber jacket. He still smelled faintly of bleach, but he looked presentable. He found Julian at the pass, screaming at a line cook. Elias was standing next to Julian, whispering something in his ear. Julian looked pale. He looked from Elias to Marcus, his eyes narrowing in confusion and malice. Go, Julian snapped at Marcus. But don't think you're getting paid for the rest of the shift. And if you're not here at 3 p.m. tomorrow to prep, don't bother coming back. Marcus walked out the front door for the first time in 2 years. The air on the street felt different when you walked out the front. Elias was waiting. A black town car idled at the curb. Shall we? They drove in silence to the Onyx Room. When they arrived, the maitre d', a man with a nose so high in the air he could drown in rain, looked Marcus up and down with undisguised disgust. Mr. Thorne, the maitre d' said to Elias, bowing low. And, his guest. Table for 2. Center of the room, Elias said. Of course. Right this way. As they walked through the dining room, heads turned. The clientele of the Onyx Room were tech moguls, heiresses, and politicians. They saw Elias, who walked with confidence, and then they saw Marcus. A black man in jeans and a t-shirt, walking through a sea of tuxedos and evening gowns. The whispers were audible. Is that a charity case? How did he get in? Does he work here? Marcus kept his head high, though his stomach was churning. He sat opposite Elias. Uncomfortable? Elias asked, unfolding his napkin. I feel like a fly in a bowl of milk, Marcus admitted. Good. Comfort is the enemy of progress, Elias said. Order whatever you want. I recommend the sea bass. The dinner was awkward at first. But then, Elias started asking questions. Real questions. Why did you save that fork? Elias asked. Marcus paused, a piece of bread halfway to his mouth. The fork? In the pit. You checked the tines. You put it in a repair bin. Most men would have thrown it away or ignored it. It's not your money. It's the tool of the trade, Marcus said. That silver fork costs $45. If we throw away 3 a night, that's $135. Over a year, that's nearly $50,000 in lost inventory. That eats into the profit margin. If the margin drops, food costs get cut. If food costs get cut, the quality drops. If quality drops, customers stop coming. Then I don't have a job. Elias put down his wine glass. He looked genuinely impressed. You understand the P&L, profit and loss statement? I have a business degree, Marcus said. I fell on hard times. My mother got sick. I needed cash fast, and the kitchen was hiring. Once you're in the dish pit, people stop seeing your degree. They only see your hands. Invisible, Elias murmured. Exactly. But you see everything from the back. I know that Julian is stealing wine. He marks bottles as corked or broken in the inventory, but he puts them in his trunk every Friday night. Elias's eyes hardened. Is that a fact? Check the inventory logs against the camera footage in the loading bay from last Friday at 2:15 a.m. You'll see. The waiter arrived with the main course. He placed the plates down with a sneer directed at Marcus. Your sea base, sir. The word of sir dripped with sarcasm. Marcus picked up his fork. Thank you. The waiter lingered. We have a dress code here usually. You're very lucky Mr. Thorne is so charitable. Marcus froze. He gripped his fork. Elias spoke up, his voice low and dangerous. Leave us. The waiter blinked. Sir? I said leave us. And tell your manager to bring me the bill. Now. The waiter scurried away. I apologize for that, Elias said. Money buys nice suits, Marcus, but it cannot buy class. Who are you, Elias? Marcus asked. You're not just a customer. Elias wiped his mouth with the linen napkin. No. I'm not. Elias reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. It was heavy, black cardstock with gold embossing. Elias Thorne. CEO and founder. Thorne Hospitality Group. Marcus stared at the card. Thorne Hospitality Group owned L'Obsidienne. They owned the Onyx Room. They own 20 of the finest restaurants in the world. You own the place where I wash dishes, Marcus whispered. I do, Elias said. I visit my restaurants once a year, undercover. I look for problems. Usually, I find bad food or lazy service. Tonight, I found a thief in management and a dishwasher who understands my business better than my regional directors. Elias leaned forward. Marcus, I'm getting old. My children, they are spoiled. They want the money, but they don't want the work. They don't care about the bent fork. They don't care about the salt grain. You do. What are you saying? I'm firing Julian tonight. I'm pressing charges for the theft. Okay. Marcus said, his heart racing. And I need a new general manager for L'Obsidienne. Marcus laughed nervously. Sir, I'm a dishwasher. You can't make a dishwasher a GM. The staff will revolt. The head chef will quit. Let them quit, Elias said, slamming his hand softly on the table. I can hire new chefs. I cannot hire integrity. I cannot hire the kind of eyes that see a bent fork and care about the cost. You have the education. You have the experience in the trenches. You have the respect of the people who actually do the work, the porters, the runners, the cleaners. But the optics. To hell with the optics, Elias smiled. I own the place. I make the optics. I'm offering you a salary of $120,000 a year, plus performance bonuses. But there is a catch. There's always a catch, Marcus said. The catch is, you have to fire Julian yourself. The next morning at L'Obsidienne was chaos. Rumors were flying. The staff knew Julian had been called into a meeting, but they didn't know why. At 3 p.m., the kitchen staff gathered for the pre-service meeting. Julian was standing at the front, looking sweaty and nervous. Elias Thorne stood next to him, wearing a tailored Italian suit that screamed power. The staff gasped. They recognized the owner. Listen up. Elias boomed. There are going to be changes. Effective immediately, Julian is no longer employed by Thorne Hospitality. A shockwave went through the room. And, Elias continued, I would like to introduce your new general manager. The kitchen door swung open. Marcus walked in. He wasn't wearing his wet apron. He was wearing a sharp, navy blue suit. He was groomed. He looked like a boss. A few line cooks snickered. The dishwasher, someone whispered. Marcus walked to the front. He stood next to Elias. He looked out at the faces that had ignored him for 2 years. Yes, the dishwasher, Marcus said, his voice projecting clearly across the stainless steel room. I know who preps the vegetables properly and who cuts corners. I know who cleans their station and who leaves it for the night crew. I know that this kitchen is a team, and for the last 2 years, the team has been broken. He turned to the head chef, a man who had never once looked Marcus in the eye. Chef, the salt on the steak is too coarse. Switch to a finishing flake. And the inventory counts on the wine have been off because of theft, not breakage. That stops today. The room was silent. Then, the young waiter who had dropped the tray the night before, the one Marcus had saved, started to clap. Slowly at first. Then the sous chef joined in. Then the porters. Julian was escorted out by security. He looked at Marcus with pure hatred, but Marcus didn't look back. He was already looking at the pass, checking the reservations for the night. 6 months later, L'Obsidienne regained its 3rd Michelin star, which it had been at risk of losing. Food costs were down 15%. Staff turnover dropped to almost 0. Marcus didn't just manage, he led. He instituted a scholarship program for the back-of-house staff, funded by the efficiency savings he found. Elias returned for dinner one night. He sat at the same table. Marcus came out to greet him, not as a servant, but as a partner. How is the steak? Marcus asked. Perfect, Elias smiled. And the salt? Malden sea salt flakes. Dissolves instantly. Elias raised his glass. To the ones who wash the plates. No, Marcus corrected him, clinking his glass against the billionaires. To the ones who see the value in everything. Marcus proved that your current position does not define your potential. He showed us that integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching, even if you're just washing dishes. If this story inspired you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share this with someone who is working hard and waiting for their big break. Remember, the world is watching, even when you think you're invisible.